Welcome to Project Lakut Siches. We're going to be learning today Siche Beis of Parshas Vaeschanan in Chelek Yudalid on page 21. The Siche here, as you can see, is a hadron on Masechta Nida, a hadron on the whole entire Shas. The Rabbi connects it also to the beginning of Shas, Me'ei Masai, the beginning and the end, connected. A beautiful, beautiful Siche, going through a lot of inyanim over here. Let's begin. Shtei mitzvahs ikriyos muvares beParshaseinu. There are two very important mitzvahs that are mentioned in this week's parsha. Mitzvahs Kriya Shema or mitzvahs Talmud Torah. The mitzvah of Kriya Shema and the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. Both of them are learned from the same pasuk, which is the pasuk Vaeschanan levanecha. Upsak dinu the Kriya Shema shachris va'arvis, and the psak din is that Kriya Shema that you say morning and night. Besides the fact that you're fulfilling the specific mitzvah of Kriya Shema, you're saying psukim of Torah, so you're also fulfilling the mitzvah of Hagisa B'Yayim V'Layla. And also on the other hand, Talmud Torah Shinun Ki Kriya Shema. Talmud Torah is learning, is saying words of psukim of Torah just like the mitzvah of Kriya Shema, which entails saying psukim of Torah. So the Rebbe is pointing out over here that we see a very strong similarity between these two mitzvahs, the mitzvah of Kriya Shema and the mitzvah of Talmud Torah, that both of them entail saying psukim of Torah. However, chiluk gadol beinayim. There's a very big difference that we see between these two mitzvahs. Achi of the mitzvahs Kriya Shema hu pamayim b'chol yom. The obligation to say Kriya Shema is twice a day, b'shachris u'b'arvis. You have to say it once in the morning and once at night. K'mufurish kan, as it says here in the pasuk Vaeschanan levanecha, b'shach b'cha v'kamecha. V'chol echad mehem hu inyan b'fnei atzmai. Saying Kriya Shema in the morning and saying Kriya Shema at night, each one is a separate inyan. The Rebbe is medayik inyan b'fnei atzmai. According to some Rishonim, it's actually two separate mitzvahs. But even if it's not two separate mitzvahs, it's two separate fulfillments of the mitzvah, one at morning and one at night. The fact that we make separate brachas, separate birchas Kriya Shema in the morning and at night is because the fulfillment of saying Kriya Shema in the morning is one inyan, which deserves its own brachas, and saying Kriya Shema at night is another inyan, which deserves other brachas. On the other hand, when it comes to the mitzvah of learning Torah, this is a mitzvah that's not divided in the times of morning and night. There's no separation, there's no designation of time, morning or night. This is an ongoing obligation, it's one ongoing obligation, constantly day and night. Anytime, day and night. And this is also regarding the bracha on Talmud Torah. The bracha of birchas HaTorah you make only once a day. Even someone that's not learning Torah all day, he's only learning sometimes, a shir in the morning or a shir at night. Nevertheless, you make one bracha for the entire day. The obligation to learn Torah is an ongoing, uninterrupted obligation day and night. Which is not like Kriya Shema, which is an obligation which is divided by day and by night. So now, the question is as follows. Seemingly, if you focus and look at what the point of saying Kriya Shema is, what's the content of this mitzvah? And if you look at what the mitzvah of learning Torah is all about, you would think it should be the other way around. And the Rebbe explains, Talmud Torah, what's the mitzvah entail? A person has to learn, understand, comprehend the words of Torah that he's learning. Part of the obligation of the mitzvah is to actually understand what you're learning. That's the idea, to study the words of Torah. If one is learning Torah Shebal Peh, and he doesn't understand the words he's saying, like mitzvah Talmud Torah, he does not fulfill at all the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. In Torah Shebiksav you do, but not in Torah Shebal Peh. And the primary focus of learning most of the time is Torah Shebal Peh, as the Rebbe brings in the footnote. And if you don't understand what you're learning and you're not fulfilling the mitzvah, you can't even make a bracha on this. Yeshnam shinuyim, vein kol hazmanim shavim. Now when it comes to understanding something, learning and studying, analyzing, understanding, this is something that not always is it the same. Sometimes you understand more, sometimes you understand less. This changes, there's ups and downs, it's not always the same. Svara lekasher mitzvahs Talmud Torah legeder azman v'aschalkisha bizman. It would be logical to say that this is the type of mitzvah that should be defined by different time periods, maybe morning, night, or any other kind of time period. The divisions that you have in time would be relevant in a mitzvah, which is by its very nature a kind of mitzvah that it's not always possible to fulfill it equally with the same kind of understanding. Sometimes you understand more, sometimes less, and so on. So that's the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. It should have been different, morning, night, and so on. We actually find clearly, the Gemara tells us that there's a difference in a person's understanding of what he learns during the day or during the night. The Gemara says, one that learns during the day, he has a clearer mind, and the ideas that he learns are sharper, are well processed in his mind, and he understands it better. So we clearly see that there's the learning experience by day, and by night it's not the same. And we also find in the Medrash, Mefurish, it says as follows. When Moshe Rabbeinu was learning 40 days and 40 nights after Matan Torah and Har Sinai, how did he know when it's day and when it's night? When the Eibishter taught him psukim from Torah, he knew it's daytime. When the Eibishter taught him Mishnayos, then he knew it's nighttime. So what we see from this as well is the Benesinas HaTorah, the Eibishter giving the Torah to Moshe Rabbeinu, teaching him Torah, there's a difference in what section of Torah is being learned. The Yom V'Layla, and it goes into the two different time periods of day and night. Daytime is time to learn one section of Torah. Nighttime is time to learn a different section of Torah. So we clearly see that Limudat Torah is something that should be connected to different time periods. And day and night play a role in what kind of learning experience you have. On the other hand, if you look at what the content of the mitzvah of Kriyas Shema is, the idea is to accept upon yourself the kingdom, the oneness of the Eibishter, Zikarin Timidi, the constant remembrance that must be by every single Yid. The Rabbi here is quoting from the Sefer HaChinuch. So this memory, to constantly have this awareness of the Eibishter's kingdom, the Eibishter's unity in your mind, is a constant mitzvah. There's no reason that there should be any difference between day and night. The time plays no role. The time period, morning, night, makes no difference. So why is it that it's the other way around? That in fact, the mitzvah of Kriyas Shema is a mitzvah that's divided specifically in day and night, two separate fulfillments of the mitzvah, day and night, and the mitzvah of Talmud Torah is a constant mitzvah where time plays no role whatsoever. So the explanation for this is as follows. The lifetime of a person in this world is divided by days. The Gemara tells us that each day is considered to be separate from the day before. Although time is a constant thing, it's never interrupted, one day continues into the next day, but the Eibishter created every day a 24-hour period, and one day is considered to be separated from another day. Every day is a separate thing, separate entity. V'yayim shalem, and what is a full day? What does the 24-hour period consist of? Hainu b'tzirov yayim v'layla. It's created that it consists of the daytime and the nighttime. As it says right in the beginning of creation, Vayihi erev, vayihi vaiker, yayim echad. First night and the first morning, and that's the day. That's one day. So this is what defines time. This is what defines the entity, the existence of time in the world. In this pasuk of Vayihi erev, vayihi vaiker, yayim echad, you have here hinted ikir tachlis avedis ha'adam, the main purpose of a person's aveda in this world. Tachlis ha'adam hi, the purpose of man in this world is lasas li yisbarach dira b'tachtainim, to make a dwelling for the Eibishter here below. in this reality below in the world. Hainu, and the Rabbi explains what that means. The point here is not that the person here in this world should negate existence, should remove himself from the reality of the world. Ella rather, this world, this reality as it exists, as an independent existence, as it seems to be, should become a dwelling for the Eibishter here in this place. Hainu meaning, shegam b'metziyazu, even here in this independent existence, yurgash ech shekol mohosei ma'mitisi matzi yitzvarach. It should be sensed that its true entity, the true existence of the world, of this reality, of this tachten, with whatever divisions it has and whatever defines its existence, this itself, its true entity, comes from the true existence which is the Eibishter. V'zeu gilui da'amitis achdusah shel Kadosh Baruch Hu. It's this that reveals the true unity of the Eibishter. If one could only connect and draw the presence of the Eibishter by negating the existence of the world, so then the unity of the Eibishter does not include this reality. It's removed from this reality. The point, though, is to bring and draw the unity and the presence of the Eibishter here below into this reality of the world. So this point, this purpose of a person's aveda in the world is hinted in what it says, Vayhi erev, Vayhi vaiker yoim echad. There's evening, there's morning, and you have one day. Hakavanehi, so what the Torah is, what is hinting to us here is, Letzaref ulechaber es ha'erev v'hachoshech v'hatachten, to combine and include the evening, the darkness, and the lowly existence, im habayker v'ha'oir v'ha'elyon, with morning and with light and with the supernal higher being of the Eibishter. Chiburoi shel olam hatachten, she'ein tachten lemata mimenu, to connect this low world. There's no place lower than this. Im ha'elyon she'ein elyon lemayla mimenu, with the Eibishter, with the essence of the Eibishter, where there's nothing higher than this. And va'oz, so that's the idea of erev and boiker, to take the erev and connect it into boiker. And then hu yoim echad. This creates the yoim echad, which means not only the first day of creation, but a kamayim razal. What this means is, what's the meaning of echad? Bepirish echad. The meaning of the word echad is tzarech lechaven. When you say the word echad in kriyishma, so what a person should concentrate upon is ba'alef shuhu echad. The aleph of the word echad is the Eibishter. Ubeches shuhu yochid b'zayin rekiyim ube'aretz harei ches. And then you have the ches, which refers to the seven heavens and the earth here below. V'hadalad reimes l'dalad ruchis. And the dalet hints to the four dimensions of the world. So a person should be concentrating on this point, that it's echad, that it's one, it becomes one, and you include the ches and the dalet, the existence of the world, that it's all within the unity of the Eibishter. So that's the yoim echad that a person creates by bringing and drawing the presence of the Eibishter into the entity of the tachten in this world. The Rebbe adds another diuk, befrat al pia yidua, especially according to the pshat that is known, diuk teves echad, the fact that we say echad in Kriya Shema, v'lo yachid, and we don't use the term yachid, even though yachid would seemingly be a stronger term. Yachid means singular, the very only one. So why do we use the term echad? Shemaira, so the word echad is implying sheyeshnei makaim le'ezim mitzias ulasiyas barach. We're dealing with a reality that exists, that is here, and we see a reality outside, so to speak, of the presence of the Eibishter. Umikol makim ereu echad. And here, in this reality, that's the tachten, that's here outside of the Eibishter, we draw the presence of the Eibishter and we reveal the truth that this is also connected to the Eibishter. Hainu meaning, shemitzias halayla mechuberes uklula ba'mitis mitzias hayom. That this entity, which is made up of day and night, becomes included all in Yom. It all becomes this one day that makes up the echad of the Eibishter. This is how you reveal the true unity of the Eibishter here in the world. This is the whole tachlis of a person's aveda. So it's not about negating the existence of the world, adarabah, to draw the presence of the Eibishter into this reality of the tachten. So this is what the mitzvah and the aveda of Kriya Shema consists of. Shema Yisrael v'goymer havaya echad. Meaning, the person has to make the Eibishter as king, above, below, and in the four sides of the world. The six dimensions of the world. To reveal the unity of the Eibishter in this world, Lashon Helem, in the place of concealment. Hainu kamoishu hu b'mitziyusai. Here, within the mitzius of the world, within its nature, and with whatever it has, you reveal that this very nature is connected to the Eibishter. So this explains us why mitzvahs Kriyas Shema kshura b'shnei hazmanim d'yomim v'layla. Why this is a mitzvah that's connected and divided and defined by the two time periods of day and night. The point of here is not to emphasize, it's not about emphasizing the separation, that there's day separately and there's night separately. On the contrary, to affect these two opposites of day and night, to join them together as one day, to reveal the unity of the Eibishter in the world. So the Rebbe is redefining over here the mitzvah of Kriyas Shema, that it's taka about the Kabbalah Sel Malchus Shemayim and the memory to remember the Malchus of the Eibishter, but it's about the Aveda of the person to bring that Melucha of the Eibishter and to proclaim Havaya Echad here below in the entity of the Metzius of the world that's defined by this existence of day and night, and to connect the night and the dark and the lowly part of the world to the day. That's the definition of the mitzvah, and therefore it's connected to these time frames of day and night. This is not the case when it comes to the mitzvah of learning Torah. So what is Torah all about? Torah does not get defined by the nature of the world. Yes, true, the Torah does deal with all the things in the world. Torah gives us instruction, and all the mitzvahs of the Torah speaks about all the entities of the world, but it does not get defined by the mitzvahs of the world. It doesn't enter into the world, and the world is not relevant to the Torah in a way that it defines it. From the perspective of Torah, the existence of the world, the reality of the world as a Tachten doesn't exist. Torah is above being defined by the entity of the world. In the world of Torah, what is everything that exists in the world? Everything that exists in the world is one and the same. It's another item, it's another opportunity to fulfill a mitzvah of the Torah. It's all what relates to the mitzvah of the Torah. There's no entity of the world in the reality of the world itself that's significant from the perspective of Torah. And that includes even after the Torah descends and comes below through many levels, and the Torah comes down below. You could learn the Torah with machshavah, dibur, ma'aseh. Even after Torah comes down here below, the Torah remains removed from the entity, from the way, what defines the existence of the world. The Torah deals and relates and talks about everything in the world, but it's all a prat in the Torah. It's all details of what the Torah is about. It doesn't relate to the entity of the world itself. So therefore, it comes to the darkness of the world, the lowly existence of the world. That's not a concealment that exists in the world of Torah. As it says, as Arzal tell us, the Torah is compared to fire. The words of the Eibishter is like fire. Just as fire is not susceptible to tumah, the Torah talks and relates to all the matters of the world, but at the same time, the Torah itself remains removed of the reality of the world, and it's not susceptible to the nature and the tumah of the world. Hainu meaning, shemitzad Torah ein nira b'ha'olam mitziyusei. Mitzad Torah, the entity of the world, what defines the existence of the world, the limitations of the world, the tachten of the world, does not exist in the world of Torah. In the world of Torah, it's all about Torah, about the Eibishter's Ratzon, about the Eibishter's Chachma. Everything that exists in the world is details of the Eibishter's Ratzon and Chachma. The reality of the world itself is not Tefes Makim. So the Rebbe adds another detail. So this is here the point why Torah is not defined by time. The mitzvah of Talmud Torah is not defined by time. So l'chein gam achi of the Talmud Torah, so the actual mitzvah itself that the person has to learn Torah, einam mugda b'gidrei yom v'layla. Since Torah itself does not enter into this reality of the world, it doesn't get defined by the mitzvahs of the world, so this is also the definition of the mitzvah itself. The mitzvah that the person has to learn Torah is also not defined by time. You have to learn the Torah constantly, and the time frames of day and night are not tefes makom b'chlal. This is the first hesber of the Rebbe when you get to the difference between the mitzvah of Kriyas Shema and the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. Based on this, we can add another explanation here. What's the point of the mitzvah of Kriyas Shema? Kanal, as we said before, Lifoil Achtos, to bring about a unity, to reveal the Eibishter's unity, the Havaya Echad Ba'olam, to bring this unity of the Eibishter here in this world below. So the Rebbe goes a step deeper and qualifies what that means. Ve'ena Piddish, the pshat over here is not Shapu'ulasa Hirak Legalois Ba'olam Shehu Batal B'Metzias, that the person's Aveda is just to discover the truth of what the reality itself of the world is, that it is totally batal to Hashem. To discover this element of existence of the world, that it's really not a Metzias B'chlal, that the entire world is completely batal to the Eibishter. That's not what Aveda is about. Ki im gam lifel ba'olam bitl zeh shu inyan ha'achdos. Rather, the avodah of a person is that he should be the one to introduce into the world, which is a place that's separate, that's lowly, that's disconnected to the source, and introduce and bring into the world the bittul to the Eibishter, even in that place of the Tachten. Not to reveal the true entity of the Tachten. If the point is about revealing, so then you're not penetrating, you're not reaching to the lowest aspect of the existence. The idea is to reach to the place where it is a Tachten. There's a Metzias of a Tachten. And there, to be Mechadish, the person should bring the unity of the Eibishter to that place. This is the bittul that the person is introducing into that place of the world. That's really what the Aveda of Kriyas Shema is about. That's how far the person is proclaiming and bringing the unity of the Eibishter into the world. The Rebbe points out that you could see this also in the wording of the Maimer Azal that we mentioned before, Hanal B'bir Inyan Kriyas Shema, the Gemara that explains what Kriyas Shema is all about. The point of Kriyas Shema is you are coronating the Eibishter as king. You are proclaiming him as king, above and below and all four sides of the world. That's what the mitzvah is about. Not just to discover the fact that he was king before. No, the person is the one that introduces into a place and an aspect of existence that's tachten, that's separated from the Eibishter, and bring the unity of the Eibishter there. It's the person's Aveda. He introduces that bittul. You're the one that's bringing the kingdom of the Eibishter into this aspect of the world. So now if this is the case, it's the person, the one that with his bittul, with his aveda, he's the one that's introducing the malchus of the Eibishter into the world. So there's going to be various different levels of bittul that the person introduces in the world. A person that has bittul, that's serving the Eibishter, that's proclaiming the unity and the kingdom of the Eibishter, the person's Aveda is not always the same. The nature of a human being is Aveda amitis. Even a person that's taka serving the Eibishter, the true, genuine, full Aveda, a person has to constantly grow and go higher in his Avedas Hashem. To constantly progress and go forward higher and higher. So if it's the bittul that the person is introducing into the world through his saying Kriyas Shema, so naturally there's going to be various different levels that a person introduces in the world, various different levels of bittul. It's not always the same, because that's the nature of the Aveda of a person. Move on, so it's understood, every time a person reaches another level, and this is what's represented in saying the Kriyas Shema in the morning. Morning as in there's a time of light, a time when a person reaches a certain level. Yes, this is a new level the person reaches, a new revelation that he reaches, in contrast to where he was before. A person has to always feel and this is actually the truth, that he's not done yet, that he has to progress further. The person has to go higher and higher. Meaning what a person has to feel is whatever he has accomplished till now is still darkness, it's still nighttime. A higher level that he could reach to, which will be day, which will be a new level of revelation. V'chein l'mayla mayla. This is a constant thing. If we're talking here about an Aveda, which the person is the one that's being mechadish and bringing this bittul into the world, so this is a kind of Aveda that's never stagnant in one place. It's constantly growing and always progressing. There's always a deeper level of bittul and a deeper level of bittul. And you always look back and see that there's another level that you were on before that's darkness, lagabe the new level that you reached. And whatever level the person is on right now, he always has to feel that this is darkness, lagabe what I could reach even further than this. So now, therefore, the Rabbi continues, Harei, so we can see here, Shepu'ula sa'achtos, the achtos, the unity of the Eibishter, that the person is introducing into the world, Shehi Avedas HaKriya Shema, this is what Kriya Shema is all about, Mishtane va'oila b'shinuya yom v'layla, it's constantly changing and growing, and therefore there's changes of day and night, there's revelation, then there's darkness, then the person goes higher and constantly higher and higher. This is another reason why the mitzvah of Kriya Shema is defined by the time periods of day and night, fitting to the nature of the Aveda itself, which is this person is constantly growing in the bittul that he's introducing in the world, from one level, another level, which are hinted in the concept of day and night. Now this is not the case when it comes to a person's Aveda and learning Torah. Torah is not about the person introducing and creating this unity of the Eibishter in the world in a place where there's no unity of the Eibishter there. The person is bringing that unity there. That's not what the Torah is about. Kimitzadat Torah, from the perspective of Torah, what is the whole existence of the world? The whole existence of the world is a place and an opportunity to be able to do the mitzvah of the Torah. There is no mitzvahs of the world outside of the Torah, from the perspective of Torah. A person that's learning Torah, what's the concept of learning Torah? To enter into the reality of Torah, where the time frame of the world and the aliyas in the world, the avoid of the person, are not tefes makom b'chlal. So therefore the Aveda and the mitzvah of learning Torah is not defined by the various changes of day and night time that there is when there's something that's based on your Aveda that you're introducing. That's not the case with Torah. So this is the second hasber of the chiluk between Torah and Kriya Shema. The Rabbi adds yet a third hasber based on this. Based on this we could say yet another difference between Torah and Kriya Shema. Why Torah is a concept mitzvah, where time does not matter, and Kriya Shema is a mitzvah where there's a difference of daytime and nighttime. Since, as we said before, Kriya Shema is introducing bittul into the world, which is the person's. It's his Aveda. He's the one that's bringing the kingdom of the Eibush into the world. So naturally there must be changes in the levels of his Aveda, as we said before already. But here the Rebbe is going to take it to another point. The revelation of godliness does not shine in a person's life constantly the same. Sometimes a person will feel revelation. It will be daytime to him. Will be connected. Will feel connected. Other times a person will feel darkness. Will feel nighttime. And it says even regarding a tzaddik, Sheva yipol tzaddik v'kam. Even a tzaddik falls 7 times and gets up again. So this is the nature of a person's Aveda. Omnam hakavana hi shaloi lispal ma'ashinuyim. The point over here is, even while a person is experiencing all these changes, and he might get demoralized because of the ups and the downs that he experiences, but a person should not get nispal from this. A person should not get moved by this. And the point here is, when a person is doing this kind of Aveda, it's necessary to encourage him that even when he's going through a Laila experience, he should still continue to serve the Eibishter without any changes. So this is yet another explanation why this is a mitzvah which is defined by the times of morning and night. The message here is the mitzvah of bringing the kingdom and the achtos of the Eibishter in the world is both when it's light, when it's daytime for you. When a person feels the revelation of godliness, and then you experience a greater bittul, you could introduce into the world a greater bittul. But Even when there's a time of darkness, when a person is feeling nighttime and darkness, he still should continue doing his Aveda even then, even in a place of darkness. So Adarabbi, here the message is that a person should not get demoralized and not only bring it into a time of Yom, even when there's a time of Laila, when it's difficult and it's dark and there's a challenge, the person has to continue doing his Aveda and bring the unity of the Eibush even into that time period. This is the attitude in the Aveda of Kriya Shema, where a person is doing the Aveda, it's his Aveda. He's revealing, he's the one that's Payal. It's the Aveda Sa'adam which goes through these changes. Masha'en ken Torah. It's not, which is not the case when it comes to learning Torah. Torah is a different thing. A person learning Torah, what's supposed to happen? She'ilam ma'alam Aveda Sa'adam ba'olam. Torah is not about a person serving the Eibishter with his nature, within the reality of the world, which is prone to these changes. The real concept of learning Torah is when a person steps away from himself, he enters into the subject of Torah, he's removed of the world and he's engrossed into the subject of Torah that he's learning, and the ups and downs of the nature of the world, the daytime and the nighttime, do not exist. He enters into the reality of Torah. That's what Torah is about. So therefore, this is a kind of mitzvah where the changes, the ups and downs of daytime and nighttime are not relevant in learning Torah. The real inyan of limud Torah is, adarabah, to lift yourself up above all those changes that exist in learning Torah. So therefore, Torah is not a mitzvah where you have to encourage the person to learn even during Laila time. There is no Laila. He's removed from the reality of Yom v'Laila. Now, according to this, the Rebbe shows us, so although we just explained that Kriya Shema and Talmud Torah are very different in the purpose of the mitzvah and the point of what it's doing, yet there's a connection here between them. So that a person that's doing the mitzvah of Kriya Shema, the Aveda of Kriya Shema, which is even to relate and bring the Eibishter into nighttime. And here, that a person should have the ability to do his Aveda even during nighttime. Although the person is found in a very low place. A person has to take the energy from a level, from a place which is above all these changes, and therefore will keep him going strong even when he's experiencing a low time, a downtime. If he's connected to that place that's not prone to any changes, so then even when he has to enter into a place where he will experience a downfall, he will experience a nighttime, he'll be able to remain committed and dedicated without any changes. This is the Torah, and this is in fact the Torah within Kriya Shema. When you say Kriya Shema, you're also saying Psukim of Torah. So you get the energy of Limud Torah, and the Torah that when you say the Kriya Shema, to give you the kayach to be able to do the Aveda of Kriya Shema in the Zman of Laila, and not to get in the spall of the down that you feel in the situation of Laila. Ki Kriya Shema, afshehi mitzvah, Kriya Shema itself is a mitzvah. It's a separate mitzvah to say Kriya Shema, which is the teichen of the mitzvah, as we explained, to bring the Eibusher into this low place. Yesh ba gam mailas ha-Torah kanal. When you say Kriya Shema, it's also saying Psukim of Torah. She'Torah hi l'mayla mikol shinuyim kanal. And Torah is above all these changes. It's not prone to any of these changes. V'hi anisenes kayach b'avodas halayla. And it's the Torah that gives the kayach to the person, and it's the Torah within the Kriya Shema itself, in these psukim. You're saying words of Torah, this gives the person the kayach ba'avodas halayla to be able to continue doing his Aveda and bringing the kingdom of the Eibishter even into a place of Laila. So here we can see the connection of the kayach of Torah that gives a person in his Aveda of Kriya Shema in a place of Laila. So this is the first chelek of the Sikha, where the Rebbe explained to us very clearly the difference between the mitzvah of Kriya Shema and the mitzvah of Talmud Torah as it relates to a person's Aveda of bringing the Eibishter into the world. Al pi anal, based on this, yesh levayed akishur sheben ascholas hashas v'siyumam b'gemara. We could see the connection of the beginning of the entire Shas and the end of the entire Shas in the Gemara. Tchilas hashas ayre b'Kriya Shema the Laila. The very first Mishnah begins with the mitzvah of Kriya Shema nighttime. What's the time you can begin saying Kriya Shema at night? V'siyam hashas. What's the very last point that it says in Shas? One that studies Torah every day. Muftach leishu b'nei olam haba. He's assured that he'll have olam haba. Shenemar alichos olam loy al tikra alichos ela halachos. The one that studies halachos, he learns halachos of Torah. Olam loy, he'll have olam haba. That's the conclusion of Shas. V'yidua, and it's known, shebetayre v'chayetze b'zeh, yesh nekisher ben aschala l'siyum. There's a connection between the beginning and the end. V'habir, over here, the explanation, the connection between the two, the beginning and the end, based on what we learned before in the Sikha, we can see. Hatzivoy likreis Kriya Shema ba'arvin. What's the mitzvah? What's the point that the first Mishnah is saying? To read Kriya Shema at night, shekachol ha-mitzvahs, eina mevakesh elo lefi koichon. As it is the case with all mitzvahs, the Eibusha only requests of us to do something that's in our ability. He gives us the ability to fulfill it. The ability to bring the Kriya Shema, the kingdom of the Eibishter, into nighttime, into darkness, even though it's difficult and it's challenging. How does a person have the koyach to go through that nighttime? So the koyach of this, al yidei ha-teira, shilemayla ma-shinuyim da'arvim v'shachris, this comes from the koyach of teira, that's above these changes of morning and night. Ela b'chol yom, this is the mitzvah of learning Torah every single day. Chiyuv tmidi, the constant obligation, which is the very last point that's mentioned in Shas, kol hashayin halachas b'chol yom. So the Shas in the end finishes off with this point of b'chol yom, and this is the nesinas kayach to give a person to be able to do his aveda even in a time of changes in the nighttime, which is what the Shas began with. Another detail here is we're talking here specifically about a person that's learning halachas every day. Why halachas? Why this section of Torah? The real concept of what Torah is, that it's above any changes, that's revealed primarily in the section of halacha in Torah. Why is that? In the other sections of Torah where there's discussion, the Torah is not given clear-cut rulings. And amongst Yidden, there's different opinions. There's all kinds of opinions about every matter, and they're all part of Torah. There are 70 ways to interpret everything in Torah. There's 600,000 ways in Torah, corresponding to the 600,000 neshamas of Yidden. Over here there is a possibility, especially there's a person here that's learning. A person can veer off at least slightly from the true expression of the unity of the Eibishter in Torah that's above all changes. Although this itself, all of these changes and everything, all of these things that comes in Torah is also something that's part of Torah and also comes from the true unity of the Eibishter. Everything is part of the true unity of the Eibishter. However, in this section of Torah where there's discussion and arguments and various opinions, it's not so revealed, it's not so apparent that this is part of the true unity of Torah. And therefore sometimes there's an opinion but you don't pass like that opinion. When it comes to the halachas of Torah, it is a maskana achas upsak echad. This is one conclusion, this is one psak, this is the way it is, and here you have the final conclusion of the Torah, and you have the Dvar Hashem, the Ratzon Hashem that's here. There's no discussion about it, there's no opinions about it. This is what it is. It's one psak. It's impossible to have any opinions about this. This is what it is. So dafkin, the halacha of Torah, you have expressed clearly and revealed the essence of what Torah is, that it remains above any changes, that it's higher than any changes. It's not defined by the existence of the world. It's not defined by the changes of time, as we explained before. So this is the Shaina halachis b'chol yom. Now the Rebbe continues and says, so now we could connect this conclusion of Shas to the sugya that comes right before this in Masechta Nida. So over there the Gemara says as follows. Amalei Rab Shmaya l'Rab Elazar. Rab Shmaya said to Rab Elazar, Eime, let us say, b'yimameh to have izova, that daytime, if a woman sees blood during the daytime, then it's possible for her to be a zav. Balayla to have a nida. But nighttime, if she sees blood at nighttime, then she would be a nida. Upirish Rashi. Rashi explains, Rasa bayayim tehei zava. If she sees blood nighttime, again, if she sees blood daytime, she'll be a zava. Kedichsev, because there's a pasuk when it describes the blood that a woman sees as a zava, yomim rabim. It says in the Torah, yomim rabim, using the term for days. Alorasa baleilois, if she sees at night, loy tehei zava. She would not be a zava. So before I continue, let me just explain the difference between a zava and a nida. We're talking over here about the periods of a woman, that she sees blood, but there's a difference in the cycle of a zava and a nida. The way it's described in the Rambam, in the Gemara, and the Rabbi here quotes also from the Alter Rebbe, Shulchan Aruch, his Akdam et Hilchos Nida, that you have the 7 days, that is the 7 days of period of nida. And then after those 7 days, you have 11 days that are the period of zava. And this is the cycle, the way it constantly continues. 7 days of zava, of nida that is, and 11 days of zava. In the days of nida, if a woman sees blood, she goes to the mikveh, and right away she can go to the mikveh, and right afterwards she's toher. And then next day she's toher. When it comes to the din of zava, that's not the halacha. By zava, if she saw blood 3 days, she has to wait 7 clean days, shiva nikiyim, to be able to go to the mikveh and become toher. Today, we're machmer, and in any case that a woman has to go to the mikveh, we wait 7 days. But minat Torah, the way it's described in the psukim, this is the division of the cycle of a woman. There's days of nida, and when she can go to the mikveh without waiting 7 days, and there's days of ziva. Right after the period of 7 days ends of nida, begins the period of ziva, and if she sees blood in that time period, she has to wait 7 days, if she saw blood 3 days in a row. So now, what Rab Shmaya was suggesting to Rabbi Lazar is that perhaps, let's say the 7 days of nida are over, the following night, if she sees blood again, so that night, although it's already outside the period of nida, but because it's nighttime, she should not become a zava. Only if she saw blood daytime, then she would become a zava. And he brings a source because when the Torah describes the period of zava, it says yomim rabim. Amalei. So Rabbi Lazar responds to Rab Shmai and tells him, Alecha omakra, regarding what you are suggesting, the Torah says, Al nidasa. What does al nidasa mean? Samoch li nidasa. A zava that sees blood in her period of being a zava, that's even if it's right next to the period of being a nida. Samoch li nidasa emes have. When is that? Balalia. Even the night after. As soon as the time period of the 7 days of nida ends, immediately after, the following night, she can already become a zava. That's what al nidasa means, immediately after. The kakari la zava, and the Torah refers to her as a zava. And the Rabbi here brings the Rashi, Upirish Rashi, samach li nidasa means leil shmini, right after the 7 days, the 8th night, or the night between the 7th day and the 8th day, the 8th night. Shahare yemei nida is called shiva ada laila. The 7 days of nida is 7 days until that night. K'dichsiv shivas yamim tia b'nidasa. 7 days are the cycle of a nida. This is the sugya that it said in the Gemara before. The discussion regarding zava, whether zava, you become a zava only during the day, or you become a zava even nighttime. So now the question here is, what's the connection of the conclusion, the very last thing in Shas, which we spoke about before, to this discussion regarding a zava? Doesn't seem to be any connection. So the Rebbe says, Taisvis there says that, there really is no connection. But because we're mentioning a halacha before, so we bring now this conclusion, and we want to conclude Shas with a positive point, about learning halachas, the greatness of learning halachas every day. And Taisus adds, "Shekain matzina b'neviim arishayim shesaimu devreim b'divrei shvach v'tanchumin." That the neviim as well, they also always finish off on a positive note, on something that's beautiful and praiseworthy, and not on a negative note. And that's why the Gemara finishes off with Tana Devei Eliyahu, with this thing of learning halachas every day. That's what Taisus says. But Harei Kasav Shama Marsha, the Marsha comments on this Taisvis. Shetzorach haTalmud l'sayim b'maymorei ha'agoda hashayich k'tzas lahalacha d'mesayim ba. Yes, true, the Gemara wants to finish off with something beautiful on a positive note, but there has to be some kind of a connection to the halacha that it mentioned before. So what is the connection? So now, based on what we said before about the whole subject of Kriya Shema and Torah, the Rebbe will explain us the connection. But before we get back to that, the Rebbe is going to first explain the concept of Nida, the concept of Zava, daytime, nighttime, and then we'll come back to the connection of learning halacha every day. So based on what we said before, we can say as follows. But first, let's have a deeper understanding of what this whole concept of Dam Nida and Dam Ziva is all about. So it's explained elsewhere. Explanation of what the Gemara says, Shadam Nido, the fact that a woman sees blood, has a cycle of a period, and it's a constant thing. This is one of the curses that Chava was cursed with after the Chet of Eitz Hadas. Hainu meaning, we know what did Chet Eitz Hadas bring about. After this sin, it brought evil, it brought the Metzias of Ra into Chava. Now this forces of evil is expressed partially in the Dam Nida, in the period of a woman. Dam Tommy, there's blood that makes her tummy. Avol, however, the Rebbe says, Hagufa Yisraeli B'tivai. The natural state of the body of a Jew, wants to reject this energy of evil that's inside of him. Regarding every single Jew, it says, you're a nation of priests, you're a holy nation. So it can't handle this energy, this bad energy that's inside of him. And it rejects it. That's the period. It rejects this blood, this evil. However, temporarily this energy, this evil energy is there in the person, that the person has to reject it. So this kayach that's in the person, this blood makes a woman tummy. Until she goes to the mikveh, as the Rambam explains what the whole point of the mikveh is, which is prisha mehara, to completely separate from any energies of bad, legamri, ubiyah, and to enter completely, and as the Rebbe explains there in the parentheses, ubittel, to become totally annulled in the water, mayim, shakol gufay oileben, when you go in the water and you're completely covered with the water, which is isis tivul. It's the isis of tivul and the isis of bittul, where a person is completely inside the water. The bittul and tivul, the tvila, the act of going in the water, and the bittul is all the same thing. Bitah. That's how you become purified, to completely separate of this temporary evil, energies of evil that's inside of a person. That's the concept of the dam nida. It's from the kayach of ra that comes in a woman, that comes in a person from Chet Eitz Hadas. So now we can take this a step further and understand the difference that there is between the two time periods of a woman. There is this time period that the Torah refers to her as a nida, and there's a time period that the Torah refers to her as a zava. Shahazava haine isha harei dam gimel yamim. A zava is a woman that sees blood for 3 days straight. Behayud aleph yamim. Shebei nida le nida. As I explained before, there's that time period of 11 days. The 7 days nida, 11 days ziva, then again 7 days nida, 11 days ziva. This is the cycle. So why is there this difference? It's really all one and the same thing, it would seem. It's just the Torah divides it into two different cycles. So the point over here is shazava. When there is an extra flow of blood that comes out even in this time period after the nida period, the usual cycle, and there's an additional flow of blood that comes afterwards in this period of 11 days, so then going to the mikveh right afterwards would not be enough. There's an additional flow of blood, so for this it's required to have 7 clean days. If at any time during these 7 days she sees blood again, it stops the count of these days and she has to begin counting again. With a nida, if she sees blood in that natural time period that she would usually see blood, which is the 7-day period, so then she doesn't have to wait to go to the mikveh 7 days. So what's the difference? So the chinuch explains why a woman has to wait 7 days to be clean. She needs those 7 days. The fact that she has an additional flow of blood shows that there's extra blood that's flowing in her. And therefore her body is emptying this blood additional days. Even more than the time period that's usual for most women. So now, this is the chinuch explaining this in simple terms regarding the flow of the blood. What's physically happening. based on what we explained before of what the dam nida represents, we understand. The masha kasav shaziv teire al reiv meisriya isha, that the fact that she has an additional flow of blood is an indication that there's more energy of this blood here. What does this mean? Her relation to the evil energies that came from Chet Eitz Hadas are more intense than the way it would be usually, and therefore there's more of a koyach of tumah in her that she's trying to get rid of. So therefore there's a greater level of tumah over here. Ba'abir b'zeh. The explanation of what this is about, what's this energy that there is in this added flow of blood. Al yidei Chet Eitz Hadas yarda zuam alaylam. Through Chet Eitz Hadas there was this Zuama, this dirt, this klipa that came into the world. Sheyardu ha'adam v'ha'olam v'shleim v'shlema ma'alosam. Both, every human being and the world in general, came down a level from where it was. Kinis arvabem zuma v'ra, because through the Chet Eitz Hadas it brought into the world the forces of evil. V'adayin nimtzasi behem, and these forces of evil are here in the world. Until the promise when Mashiach comes will be fulfilled. The Eibush will remove all spirit of impurity from the world. Begula Asida, in the upcoming Geula Sha'az, Tizbatla Zoma Legamri, Va'adam, Va'olam, Yizbarar, V'yizdachu, V'yizala B'tachlas Abirra Zichvalia. Only then will be the ultimate purification and the ultimate elevation out of all of these forces and any trace of evil. So what we understand from this is this zuma, this evil energy, enters into a person. This energy becomes part of the nature of a person. And this is the person's aveda to reject it, to push it out of his life. This is the idea of what the flow of the blood of the nida is about. This evil energy that comes from the Eitz Hadas and becomes part of the nature of the person. And the Jewish body rejects it, and the person works on getting rid of it and purifying himself of this bad energy. This is the usual and regular Aveda of every person, which is represented in the regular cycle of a usual woman that has the monthly period that's rejecting this bad energy that there is in the human nature of a person. However, so now the Rebbe here quotes of what the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, that the Beinani, the person that's a Beinani, this is the usual Aveda of the regular person. And this is what we expect that every person should aspire to. So if we're talking about a Beinani, so whatever bad energy there is from Klippa inside of him, even during the time when he says Kriya Shema and he's davening and he's in an elevated state, the bad energy inside of him is not completely annulled. It's only a tzaddik that could completely eradicate any trace of evil in him. It's like a person that's asleep. The evil energies are there, but it's just asleep. That it could get reawakened. While a person is davening, it's like asleep. And when the person finishes davening, so those energies could get awakened again, and it could come and be active in the person again. So this is the point, and now we can understand the cycle of a woman, that it's a constant thing on a monthly basis. If the point is to reject and get the evil out, and the dam nida flows out, so she rejects the evil. Comes another month, and the cycle is here again. Although there's a rejection of this energy and the bad energy that there is in the person, however, when some time passes, and the time is a month, and this is also precise, as the Rebbe brings in the Ha'aret, it's related to the cycle of the moon, it's also connected to this Inyan. So then, because you haven't fully eradicated the trace of evil, so it gets awakened again, comes out again. Until Mashiach comes, the root and the cause of this energy of Tumah is not completely uprooted. And And then there's the avodah all over again, to rid yourself and grow again and go higher and higher, to rid yourself from this evil that has been aroused again. So this is the explanation of the regular cycle of a woman, of the dam nida, that the chinuch says that this is the usual for rave women. However, but if there's a case where a person sinned, then a person blemished himself, and then one aveda leads to another, so then what's possible, what happens is, the bad energy in the person could get awakened. It gets awakened and it comes into the person and it becomes active even before the cycle, even before the natural time to be expected by a Beinini that still has this bad energy in it. We'll move on. So the fact that she's seeing blood outside of the regular cycle of a nida, but she's seeing blood in another time period, which the Torah defines as the ziva, so it's not only in the time that it comes before. This is an indication that the quality and the nature of this level of klippah and this tumah that there is here is stronger. This is the definition of this added tumah of ziva. She's seeing blood in that 11-day period where naturally most women should not be seeing blood then. And this refers to an unusual, to a greater level of impurity that is here in this woman. There's a level of energy, of negative, of bad energy that's more than just as there mitzad the nature of chet eitzadas. There's something that the person caused and brought upon himself that's even more and more intense level of evil. So therefore, this explains the difference in the halacha of how you treat and how you deal with this ziva. The halacha is different than with the dam nida. So the way you reject and remove this energy of tumah, it's not enough the avodah that there is when you have the usual and expected natural powers of the chet eitzadas in the person. Here there has to be a greater level of tshuva. And in order for her to do a more than a regular tshuva, stronger level of tshuva, so here you have to have 7 clean days. Over here she has to be completely clean, which means she has to be on the opposite extreme where she was before when she had additional days of blood. Now she's going to be in the other extreme where she's going to be completely clean. Why is this the way? Why is this the way of tshuva, to go from one extreme to another? So the Rebbe says, this is the right way of tshuva in our case. As the Rambam says in Hilchas Deis, if a person finds that he's on one side, he's in one extreme, way too much, so the tshuva of a person is to go to the opposite extreme. The Rambam there says that the derech habeininus is the way for a person to do his avodas Hashem. But if you're in one extreme and you're far off the path on one extreme, so the way to get yourself back to the middle is to go to the opposite side, to the opposite extreme. So the same applies here. If she sees blood in one of these days, of the clean days, this interrupts the count of the 7 days retroactively, and she has to begin again. Because this is a proof that this is not a full tshuva where the person totally went to the other extreme to be completely cleaned of all of this avedis that are brought out in this blood that she saw in a time that's not usual. After counting 7 straight days that are clean, then she could be toivel, and then this is an indication that she's pure from the tumah. Now the Rebbe points out that the number of 7 days is also precise. Shiva is the full cycle of the week. Every single day of the 7 days of the week represents another aspect in a person's Aveda in this world. V'hainu, meaning, when she has this period of 7 days that are ritzufim, that are one after the other, so she has each individual day being a pure and clean and holy day, and each individual day represents something else. And also, and also having the full cycle of the week that's completely pure. So this is the tshuva shleima b'chol pratev v'nyanel and v'rak al yedei zeh hu nitma mitum ezu. And only when you have this full tshuva are you able to be purified even from the dam ziva, which is the extra blood that came in a time more than the usual that there is by a cycle of a woman. So now we have the full explanation over here between the difference between dam nida and dam ziva by a woman. So now, based on this, the Rebbe is going to come to the discussion of the Gemara asked, Shmaya asked Rabbi Lazar, maybe dam ziva should be a tumah that should only happen daytime and not nighttime. What's the significance of this question? So now we'll see the connection of Tana Devei Eliyahu to this sugya where we're discussing the ziva and the nida, and that ziva should only be daytime and not nighttime. What was really the question of the Gemara? Shailas HaGemara. When the Gemara was asking the question, Rav Shmaya was asking the question that the ziva should only be daytime and not nighttime. What was he saying? Since we have explained, what's the difference between the blood of nida and the blood of ziva? It's kanal. Shahadam nida yonoi his ayres harabayfna ragel vativi bibne yodam. The dam nida represents the natural state of a Beinoni in this world after chetei tzadas that has that evil in him. The dam ziva mayra al chayli. Dam ziva is additional blood. There's more. It comes in a time what's not natural. Teisves b'mitzia sarah. There's an addition in the intensity of the bad energy in the person. So therefore the question is, Eime b'yamamet ziva. Maybe this tumah of ziva it could only happen daytime. Pirish bayayim during the day. What does day represent? Kasheriyas adam b'mei ziva. She sees the blood in those 11 days of ziva. Daytime, when the sun, which represents revelation of the Eibishter, is shining in the world and in the person, and even then she sees this blood. So this shows that there's a big lack in the person. That there's a sickness over here. There's a great intense level of bad energy that comes out even during the day. If not for the fact that there's such an intense evil energy here, she wouldn't be seeing this blood in this period of the 11 days during the day, which represents a time of revelation of godliness. If even then she sees the blood, that should be the time that the dam ziva is really problematic, that this is an indication that there's an intense power of evil here. But if she sees this blood at nighttime, she sees even the dam ziva at nighttime. It's a time when there's darkness in the world. There's a concealment on godly revelation. So to have a nida. So that shows that this is not really a chesara, this is not a fault in her. There's nothing that's caused mitzad her, ki mitzad ha'choshech v'teva ha'olam. Rather, it's the time, it's the nighttime and the darkness that exists in the world. So that naturally caused that the bad energy in this woman came out before the usual time. It shouldn't be an implication. It doesn't necessarily prove that there's something unusual, there's something different, that even in the time of revelation there's bad energy here in this woman. So that's the svara of the Gemara. Maybe at nighttime, that's a time where there's darkness in the world, so that's something which is not unusual, that the powers of evil should come out earlier. However, the conclusion of the Gemara is Shigam balaylo havizava. That even nighttime, she's also a zava. Even if she sees this blood during the night, it's also unusual and she's a zava. And what's the reason for this? Kikol echad ve'echad mi Yisrael, since every single yid, be'ezem matzav shenimtza, and whatever condition he finds himself, yesh bekoichei lavad avidasa. He has the energy to serve the Eibishter and do what he's supposed to. Even when it's nighttime and dark in the world, that's not a reason to say that we can blame and put the blood that she saw on the darkness that there is in the world. No, the Yid is above that. The Yid has the kayach to serve the Eibishter in every time period, even in nighttime. So the fact that this Yid was not able to rise above the nighttime and the blood came out in the unusual time during the night, so then this is an indication that there's something wrong with the Yid's Aveda here, and this is an extra level of tumah that you have to get rid of. This kayach of a Yid, so here's the connection to Titana Deveil Yokal Hashayin Alachas. This point that we're saying here, the connection that Rebbe is making over here, that even at nighttime, we say that a Yid is above the night. He can rise above the night and it doesn't exist. It should not at all affect the status of the Yid in his Aveda. So where the kayach of this comes from Torah. As we said, a Yid learns Torah and a Torah is above all changes. That a person should not get affected by any other changes that there are. All the concealments that there are in the world, that come in the world. Now we can understand also the answer, the response that Rabbi Lazar gives Rav Shmaya, and he tells him, Alecha omakra, when he responded to him and he wanted to explain to him that even if she sees this blood during the night, it's still an indication that there's something unusual here, because really a Yid has the kayach to rise above the nighttime. He uses the term Alecha omakra. Yid to loshen v'she'ein ragel. This is a response that's unusual, and it's an extra expression here. You could have just told him the pasuk. Why does he say Alecha omakra? So the Rebbe teaches Alecha b'derech makiv. This is a revelation that's makiv, that's above. Omakra, and the Torah says, there's the kayach HaTorah, the Torah teaches us that a Yid could rise above nighttime. And therefore, if she sees blood in this period of Yud Aleph Yom, of Ziva, even if it's nighttime, really she should have risen above this. Really a Yid is above this. And therefore, this Dam Ziva applies even in this time. So we can see here the connection where the Gemara is discussing daytime, nighttime, as it relates to the halacha of Ziva, how this is connected to the thing that follows in the Gemara, Kol Hashayna halachas b'chol yom, that Torah is above day and night. A Yid is connected to Torah that's above the limitations of nighttime and daytime, and therefore that expresses itself in the halacha of Ziva as well, that there's no difference when she saw the Dam Ziva, whether it was by day and by night. Beautiful connection. Then the Gemara continues and concludes, a person that learns Torah every single day. So it emphasizes halachas, learning Torah, and specifically the halachas of Torah. Being above any changes, gives a Yid the kayach to withstand any changes that he experiences in life. Even if they are for the negative, a Yid could rise above this, continue serving the Eibishter the way it's expected and the way he should be. And here this is actually connected to the point that Tosfos says. Tosfos says that the Gemara here, finishing off on a positive note, is similar to Nevi'im Arishonim Shesayim Udivreim B'Divri Shvach V'Tanchumin. The Nevi'im that conclude their Nevuah also with words of praise and words of consoling the Yidden. Kigam Maimer Zeh Hu Inyan Shel Tanchumin. Over here, the Gemara is concluding also with something that's consoling a Yid and elevating a Yid. L'nachem or l'oidid kol mishu neifel memadregasai. The message of the conclusion of the entire Shas is to encourage and elevate a Yid. When you finish the entire Shas, the message over here is that you learn Torah. Torah gives you the kayach to elevate yourself in any and every situation through your Aveda, to go above all the changes and challenges that you experience in the world. Through the halachas of Torah, halichais olam loy. This brings to the person an elevation, and this brings the person to chaye olam haba.